So here will be the final, well, who knows, right? Who knows when the final part for this fan will be, but I think it's going to be over at Justin's for a while. I got some JB weld on that pot metal joint. There was very little to surface area to attach it to, and I'm pretty deeply concerned that it may not even make the trip back to Richmond. Maybe it's, bad luck, but I got it on just a pretty warm, nice little breeze of air just blowing towards that JB weld because I really don't have time, the 4 hours I think that it takes to cure. I think I got about maybe 3 hours I'll have on it. So I'm just trying to kind of make it happy, make it ready to go and get on the road. I'm going to just ever so gently, I think, stuff styrofoam or something down in here so that there's no side-by-side movement, or limited at least. And then to finish it off, I've got this really crusty antique plug, and because this fan's not going to be run, I'm going to basically hook it up, maybe make a 3 or 4 foot lamp cord for fan cord, and just plug it in to here with some heat shrink, and I think probably clean this off and then use this Glaze It product to finish it off, and I think we'll be done. Well, I've got the parts kind of, wire brushed up a bit. The screws, I think what I'll do is I'll just put everything back together and just coat this with a very light oil of the CLP, basically like a WD-40, just to keep it kind of corrosion free is my hope. It won't be, the plug's not going to be used. It's basically just for looks, but I still want to make it the best as I can for him. By the way, this plug says, I believe, A. Windsor, and then down here it says S. M. Cal. I don't, perhaps no, it's S period M period Cal period. Perhaps Santa Maria, California is my first guess, I don't know. Maybe they had a factory there back in the day. Don't know what age this is, but it's definitely pretty old. You can see I got probably 3 or 4 layers of heat shrink tubing, just in order for it to fill as best as I can the diameter of this plug. It doesn't appear that I'll have any room to do any kind of stopper, like a zip tie, for example. It appears that back in the day, the thing that prevented this cord from being pulled out of the plug was the screws. These brass screws that basically screw down into the plastic, so not much safety. But then again, they had more common sense. But that's my plan, is to just put it back in, wire these down, and just finish up the outer edge of this with a little bit of Glaze It. Not that it makes up for being safe and all, but I've put a drop of red varnish, insulating varnish on the live wire, and a black dab of this liquid tape on the neutral wire. I mean, come on. Still needs to be switched with positive being the switch. Right now it's how it was from the factory, with the negative being switched. Got some towels stuffed into the blade to hopefully, I guess keep it from vibrating too much on the way to Richmond. I'll be leaving about 35-40 minutes or so. And yep, that's what we got going on. Thanks for all your patience, guys. Okay, got the plug on, all polished up. Polished up enough. Got the fan covered with an old t-shirt. I'm going to go up to Justin's in just a little while, and I'll hopefully be able to record some of his garage for you, so you can get an appreciation of his family and the memories that he has. Quite a museum it is to me. And so yeah, we'll take you up there and see you in just a little bit. So I'm driving now to Justin's, to Richmond basically. Got Miss Fan back in the seat. I thought that the JB weld would be dry and safe to transport that blade and it was absolutely still wet. And I think the cure time was it says 4 to 6 hours. So, I mean, I left it at 3 hours, so I don't blame it. I would have liked to have had it a little bit more sturdy, because unfortunately what I had to do was I had to position the fan blade, which you'll see when I take everything off, basically resting against the cage, and then I used a couple pieces of Scotch tape to essentially like a cast, a splint basically. So I splint the blade into place, and it still, hopefully, if it stays in that exact same spot when the JB wheel dries, I think it has a chance of actually being hard, and it'll be displayable. So there she is. We'll see how everything turns out when we get to Richmond. We're going back to Old Virginia. Memorabilia, yeah. I've called it a museum of Americana, but it's more than that. It's your memories. Because most of this has got a story, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Every bit of this.
These are all bits and pieces from my family, my wife's family, and it has such deep meaning to me. It really does. Everything here was something that they touched or I touched.
Wow.
Or,
Yeah.
It's a real treasure for me.
Well, Mr. Justin, tell me, how did this garage come to be? And I know that you're probably busy, but if you have a certain amount of time, maybe you can just take a few things of your favorites, then tell me like their story.
Sure. Um, this all came about as a product of family members that had passed away, because I was the oldest child, I needed to help with removal of things so that they could dispose of the real estate and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So as I started going through this, you'll see some items in here are from an old country store that my maternal grandparents ran for a number of years in the 40s and 50s, and I think into the 60s. Some of those came from there. When my grandmother passed away, we had to get rid of the house and the old store and different things. So I went through it and just kept a handful of things.
Yeah, sure.
I identified as having meaning to me.
Of course.
My parents both passed away about a decade ago, and they had kept most everything that the three children had.
Yeah.
During all that time. The toys, that
Wow.
display case is full of toys.
Wow, yeah.
That I had in the 60s when I was a child. I was born in 1960, so it's some of the metal cars up there are from the 50s, I think, because my deceased brother was a little bit older, so they had bought toy cars for him. There's things there. Back when I was a child, Batman was a popular
Oh, of
hero
course, with the Robin, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I've got an old Batman lunchbox and hand puppet and nightlight and
Wow.
Different things
Yeah.
of that nature that just thrill me to find it. Things that were very popular in the 60s. Old transistor radios.
Wow.
And things of
Yeah.
that nature.
And that was new technology back in that day.
I'm an old car guy, so car-related items always drew me to it. Um, there's a grill up there from a late '40s panel truck that was my grandfather's at one time, but I found that hanging in an old shed.
Look at that,
Um,
huh?
Again, just toys and different trinkets.
Yeah.
Old blacksmith shop related things. My grandfather, my paternal grandfather and great grandfather were both blacksmiths,
Oh
and
wow.
they operated a small blacksmith shop in a little town in Virginia on the farm. And
Wow.
so many of the items here, there was a large family. My father had a large family, but my dad had inherited a few things
Yeah,
that
yeah.
came from the shop. So I'll point out a couple of those, but you've got old implements here that
So you got
came.
some pretty old stuff then.
Jeff, they go back to the late 1800s.
Wow.
Some
Yeah.
of the equipment was manufactured
Imagine.
in 1897. That's
Imagine.
what I've been able to find.
Wow.
My mother's first radio. She had my grandparents had
Oh
gotten
my
for
gosh.
her a radio that this was early '50s
Wow, beautiful,
sort of
yeah.
stuff. Um,
And that would be a tube radio, I imagine, but
It
with
is.
FM and AM in it.
it is,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
tubes. One tube that when I got it, it actually worked, and
Okay.
I let it play for too long, I guess, and the tube burned out, and I haven't been able to find the replacement.
Well, listen, you
so-
tell me about it, cause more than restoring fans, I have a lot of experience in restoring old tube radios.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
We
that
might
one I can
do
definitely,
that.
I can definitely talk to you about.
But this again is a collection of just all those old things. This was actually something from the blacksmith shop. It's a hand-operated bellows that you would crank this, and there was a belt that went from this to this small gear,
Right, right.
and then there are impellers encased in there, and it blew. It
Just like
actually
an air,
kept it,
huh? Like a fan.
kept the fan,
Wow.
kept the fire hot.
The
And
fire
I remember
hot.
as about a 4-year-old, 4 or 5-year-old, because my grandfather died when I was very young. But I remember going in that blacksmith shop once or twice, and
Wow.
it was just
Wow.
a thrill. I remembered my dad wouldn't let me not hold his hand because
Yeah.
there's so much in
Because
there.
there's so much
And
danger in
I
there.
remember the heat, and I remember
Wow.
the smells and different things like
Wow.
that kind of come back to me.
Amazing.
But anyway, just old things that my father used to plow a field with a mule, and this was one of the bridles for the mule. These are old hand tools that came
Wow.
from the blacksmith shop. I get such a thrill out of things like this because you see where the handle has been burned so badly; it was laying too close to
Yeah.
the fire. But they're just old implements that my family had used to make a living.
That's amazing.
It just for me, it's thrilling.
Wow. It's
Um,
amazing.
In the country store that my other grandparents had, this was actually the way that, and I think it was for, let's see, what was this? This was for corned beef. Came packaged in a
Oh
wooden
man.
box.
Bet you that was good corned beef too.
But there were 24 tins,
Wow.
that came
Imagine.
shipped in a wooden box. I just, again, I
That
found
is so
that
cool.
and cleaned it with some Murphy's oil, some soap.
Yeah, just restored it, huh?
Came back
Wow.
because you couldn't read the writing on it.
Oh my gosh. Now you
Um,
can. Wow.
So different things
Right.
like that. The front end of the old car. Like I said, I was a car guy. My second car when I was a kid was a 1969 Grand Prix, and it happened to be this terrible brown. But
That's
my
funny.
son and I found this
Yeah.
a guy on Marketplace had
Wow.
it, and he had owned it for 25 years, cut it off the front end of an old Grand Prix, but it happened to be the same model, the same color,
Same everything. Wow.
and it just fit well because my first car was this one, 1957 Chevrolet that my brother and I bought together in 1974, and spent the next couple of years trying to restore it. It belonged to a great uncle, and we finally ran out of money and out of we needed dependable transportation.
Yeah.
So it was sold in 1977, 3 years ago, my son sold one of his cars and found this one, the very car that I owned. It had been 43
Same
years
exact
since
one.
I had seen it.
Oh my gosh.
And he found it and bought it back and gave it to me on Father's
And
Day.
to keep it in the
3 years
family,
ago.
huh? Wow.
Absolutely, and it
And,
is such a time capsule for me because my brother and I, back then, with a boom on a tractor, we pull the 6-cylinder out of it
my goodness.
and put this old 283 in it
My
that is
goodness.
still in it to this day.
Wow.
Most of the things that he and I had touched on here are still pretty much the same.
Right.
But when my son found it, it hadn't run in 34 years.
Oh wow.
And so we kind of got it back
So
together.
you've restored it again.
Yeah, just a soft start, got it going again. And I drive it, at least once a week. And
Okay, awesome.
it's slow. It's not in very good shape, but
Yeah.
it makes me smile. It
Yeah.
makes my heart happy
Yeah.
every time I drive it. So,
Wonderful, yeah.
what a thrill for me.
Gorgeous, right.
But you'll see other old things in here. My grandparents, these were my maternal grandparents.
Excuse me, I'm gonna get a better
Sure.
without the glare.
My grandfather was a rural route mail carrier for 60 years. And there was an article in a local paper that was written up there that I framed. And, because he'd worked at the same job, he started delivering mail in a horse and buggy.
Wow, imagine that.
That's how
Imagine
long
that.
he was involved in that. So, different things, items that he was also, this grandfather took care of old school buses for the county
Oh my gosh.
after he got done with
Right.
the mail route. And so these were lights stop lights actually for an old school bus.
Oh my gosh, how
They
cool is
were
that?
hanging
I
in the
never knew
shed,
that they lit up like that. Wow.
That I discovered and just
Imagine.
tried to refurbish a little bit and
Yeah.
have something
Perfect.
to show people and talk
Wow.
about. The Pepsi, the cooler up there is late 40s Pepsi Cola cooler that was on a shelf in their country store. Jeff, you may be old enough to remember, but bottled drinks.
Oh, of course, yeah. Is that where when you saved them and then you brought them back to the store? And
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was they came in wooden crates. There was a Pepsi crate up there. Gauge cluster from a '54 Chevrolet, a motorcycle tank from the first motorcycle that we ever had as kids. Probably I might have been 10 or so at that
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Different things that just, like I said, are meaningful to me. That was my son sold a 1996 Toyota Supra so that he could fund the purchase of the old 57
Wow.
that you see over there.
And that
So
'96, that was a very nice car.
yeah, no, it was,
Yeah.
it was incredible. That was a produce scale that hung in that old country store that I was telling you about. They used that to, weigh food and such as that. Bike that I got, my sister has a picture of me as a 10-year-old getting that bike for Christmas.
Imagine.
So that
Yeah.
would have been 1970.
Wow.
What else? Just different memorabilia from, I was a race fan at one time. There's an old wash pan up there and a ladle. The wash pan, I remember my grandmother, we were always, they had large gardens,
Yeah.
It was a country, so
Yeah.
she had large gardens, but she sat and shelled butter beans and snapped,
Wow. Wow.
green beans.
Yeah.
And, that's the pan that she used to do all that. And
Wow,
as
and
children, we sat down, we were responsible for helping
Wow.
her.
Wow.
So I remember that pan was just on a shelf in my parents' house
Wow.
when I cleaned that out. Different things. My mother was director of the Chamber of Commerce back in Brunswick County, and she did a lot of things in her life. She didn't talk much about them, but
Wow.
she was she did things that still to this day endure
She had a lot of influence
in that county
and impact. Yeah.
and that was that actually is in a museum. A duplicate of that is in a museum in Brunswick County in Lawrenceville, in a little display they have in the museum
Wow.
dedicated to her.
Amazing.
My father was a Korean War. He was in the Army. and that's his uniform. Some of his dog tags and different things up higher there, and when they found out, my dad was a musician. He started playing music when he was a teenager, and when the Army found out that he played music,
Yeah.
they put him in a band that
Wow.
spent most of his Army career touring Korea and other countries
Imagine. Wow.
to entertain troops. And so
Wow.
Dad's experience with his military was, he said, just for me it wasn't that bad. I got to play music, and that was what he was
That's
so
amazing.
passionate about.
Yeah.
And he
Amazing.
there was a picture near my grandparents there of some folks. He played music with the same band members for over 60 years. He had dementia, and when he had gotten to the point that he hardly knew his name. I took him to a show in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Dad didn't remember how we got there. He didn't remember the car.
Wow.
But you get him up on stage, and the music was seamless. The
Wow.
words, he remembered all of it.
Just all in his brain right
The
there.
young musicians would
Wow.
ask him about certain things. I mean, he
Imagine.
really was connected to the music. But
Wow.
I've got stuff here, comic books. When I was a kid, comic books were the popular thing, and hot rod magazines from when I started. There's
Wow. Yeah.
old hot rod magazines, just different things. These were all packed in a box in my parents' attic that they hadn't thrown away. Different stuff that I've had my hands on.
Sure.
My wife's grandfather was in the military, and in the 50s, Atomic Warfare Defense. This was a book that he had.
So that was back in the
Let's
day,
see,
huh?
1955.
The height of the Cold War, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
man.
Something right there.
This is some of the stuff that he was required to learn.
Imagine.
As a young Navy man,
Wow.
and this is kind of interesting. I've got a couple old school desks, but this is something from the country store that this was used for oil.
Oh wow.
Oil was kept in here, and back then oil came in glass bottles typically.
Okay.
And so the bottle would actually connect here. You'd spin this one time, and it would withdraw just the right amount for the to fill the bottle. But I found it in the corner of an old shed, and
And you
You know,
painted
this
it
one-
and made it nice?
yeah, and this I tried to find the decals for it. This was supposedly the correct color for whatever
Sure.
company produced
Wow.
it. But the clock up there is a working grandfather clock, well, a working cuckoo clock
Cuckoo clock, right?
that my grandmother had. So when my grandson is around, I usually get it operating.
Yeah,
'cause
get
it
a
comes
cuckoo
out,
in.
he
Yeah.
just loves that too,
Imagine.
so,
Yeah.
This refrigerator, which I'm working on trying to restore, that was the first one that I remember my grandmother ever having. This dates back to the late 40s, as best I can tell. But it worked fine up until a few years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Something failed, but a friend of mine has helped me work on it. And if I can get it operating properly,
Yeah.
we'll add it to the bar
Yeah.
instead of the new refrigerator. This is a device that I'm particularly proud of. This is an old hand-operated drill press that came out of my grandfather's blacksmith shop. But you put the drill in. Excuse me.
Amazing,
put the
yeah.
Drill in here.
Wow, look at that. Huh?
And this stump, this piece of wood, actually came with it. So my grandfather, my great-grandfather decided, you can look here and see the indention where he used it as
For
a
the
drill,
drill, huh?
as a support for
Yeah.
whatever he
Wow.
was drilling. But I'm an old mechanical
Yeah.
engineering
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
so the way this operates, the gear driven, and the way that this
Wow,
this
sure.
actually is set up to advance the drill bit, a little bit at the time.
Wow, amazing.
It just fascinates me.
They just don't make stuff like that no more.
And these implements, if you look at the complexity of these little implements that would fit in there, this would this would actually shave down. There's a blade there, and it's used to shave down um, wood of some kind. But look at how many different things
Wow.
are going on here with that.
Imagine.
And it's been brazed 3 times to
And it's
take
still
care
going.
of defects. And,
Wow.
the thing that is fun for me is that the hands of my grandfather, my great grandfather, was on all this stuff. They made this.
Wow.
My
Imagine.
father remembered that they made this rack. It's got a piece of leather over here that he used for something, but
Right.
he
Yeah.
just made this little rack for these bits and things
That is so
go
cool.
along with this equipment.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll show you is an old leg vise you can see behind the press here.
Oh,
But
sure.
that came
yeah,
out
yeah.
of the blacksmith shop as well as the anvil.
And this was this like cast iron back in the day, or what technology did they use to?
Jeff, I'm not real sure. I just know
I don't
that
know.
the
It's
leg
solid,
vise,
though.
I actually had to take a masonry bit and cut a hole in the slab to
Oh wow.
connect the leg vise because, as you can see, this opens up. The
Wow.
jaws will open up like
Wow.
that wide.
Imagine.
And the anvil, I use that currently for things that I get
Big
involved
anvil.
with
Look at that.
here in the shop.
Yeah, that's huge. You don't know how much it weighs, do you?
I don't, but
It's pretty
I
heavy.
would guess it's 120 pounds.
Wow,
probably.
imagine. A solid steel.
I had a guy that walked in and offered to buy that from me for like $1,000.
Wow,
Like,
imagine.
I wouldn't part with it for
Yeah.
10 times that. I mean,
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
what
Wow.
better thing for me to pass along to my children
Wow.
than something that goes back 100 years or more, to
Yeah.
150, 120 years at this point, with our family. So
you-
this was a wonderful place for me to collect.
Wow. That's
I
awesome.
had collected it all, packed it away in the house that we lived in, and when we moved here, I had the good fortune of having a shop big enough to
Sure.
allow me to display it. And most people will give me a few minutes to tell them what it's all about because
Right.
I think you look around and it's it really looks junky.
Oh
But
no, I don't think so. Yeah.
everything here is
Yeah.
really-
I'm enamored by it.
the,
Yeah.
the pendant over there on the wall, the Baltimore Colts,
Colts,
were
yeah.
actually in Baltimore.
Wow.
The Colts were originally in Baltimore. That dates to 1970, maybe 71
Okay.
at the most,
Yeah.
maybe 69. I don't remember
Sure.
when, but my dad took me to a Colts Miami Dolphins game in
Yeah.
Baltimore, and so I
Imagine.
got the pendant
That's
from,
so cool.
from that. So, and that was folded up. That was in
Yeah.
a box. My parents were pack rats, but God bless them.
Bless him for it. Yeah.
They've given me a story to tell.
Yeah.
As much as I can of their
Sure.
story and story of my grandparents. So.
And he preserved it for the present
I hope
generation.
so.
You
And
know.
I think my children seem to be very interested in certain aspects of it, and I think they've heard me tell the
Yeah.
story enough
Yeah.
that they will probably be able to repeat it as
Sure.
well.
Of course.
All of this is just a real time capsule. I spend a lot of time in here, so
Yeah,
it's
right.
enjoyable for me to sit among things and
To be around everything,
things
yeah.
that are reminders of how I grew up
Wow,
and
yeah.
who I am.
Wow.
It's a real treasure for me, though. But I appreciate you asking me because I'm
Well, I appreciate
I'm
you
happy
telling
to-
me. That's for sure.
happy to talk about it.
In fact, let me get. I got a few things that I wanted to get for you. Unfortunately, I know you know that it pains me more than I can tell you to say that I think because of my own stupidity, I think your father's fan, or your grandfather's fan that used to go up there. Is that right?
Yeah.
Um,
It's fine. Jeff,
Yeah.
I got your note, and we
Yeah.
talked a little bit about. I've
Yeah.
seen, honestly, the fan was a wonderful representation of
Sure.
one of the things that I had of theirs.
Yeah.
It still is.
It is. Yeah.
Even if it's broken, and the thing that I'm so grateful of, I actually saw you get it to an operating point. With
Oh
the
yeah.
YouTube.
If you get the
Yeah.
last link I got you, you can actually see it blowing. It was blowing. I mean,
I
this
didn't-
thing blew.
I wasn't able to open that one.
No,
yet,
listen.
so-
You watch it when you can. I
But
mean,
I-
it blew strong.
Yeah, no, and
I mean, it
that's
was like a
cool.
shop fan. Yeah.
To me, that was, the fact that you took an interest. I'm
Yeah.
very grateful
Well,
for it.
I'm appreciative.
And it worked for a while. I know
For a
you
second,
put a lot
yeah.
of time and effort into it, I'm thrilled with the fact that it worked for a bit, but
Yeah.
for me, you know, I'll take it and I'll put it back up
Okay.
there, and,
Yeah,
the story goes on.
yeah.
You
Okay.
know, it's I get to tell them about a new friend, Jeff,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
made it work, and that it met some unfortunate
Well,
circumstances.
it's those big holes. You know, we were talking about how you can reach your hand in there.
Yeah.
Well, it spun around and it spun right into my parts washer, and I'm like,
Oh man.
and it was made out of
Yeah.
pot metal. You know, back in the
Yeah.
1939,
Yeah.
41 something.
Look,
They made it, you know, pretty fragile.
I look at it as an opportunity for a new friend to take care of it, you know, to help me with an old thing.
Okay, sure.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and it worked for a while, and it's got a new story. So
All right. Well, listen.
I'm thrilled with that.
Let me give you a few more things here. Oh, well, first of all, listen. I want to make a special mention of this beautiful bar that you made, and I know that you're a appreciator of fine bourbon.
We my son and I started this effort about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, maybe.
It's amazing what you
Both had an
made.
interest. My youngest child is almost 30, and he and I still have he loves cars, and we still have a great connection with all these things. But we found on vacation a couple of years ago, I guess, that we both had a mutual interest in bourbon and understanding the distinctions of bourbon. It's an interesting hobby, and we've started. This was actually an old TV cabinet that we had in the
Okay,
house.
sure, sure.
I painted it and put this like pressed tin ceiling
Yeah,
sort
it's
of
beautiful.
stuff in the back,
Just
and
gorgeous.
we just we started changing it. This Lexan here, this shelf here and here, is actually from a bank building. It's bulletproof.
Imagine,
It's an inch and a half Lexan.
Look how thick that is.
So we used it. We thought it would be good to add to the display here.
It's gorgeous.
We've started down
perfect.
this road. This corner of the shop was largely unused. I mean, it
Okay.
had more things like this, but I've managed to consolidate.
Yeah.
And we just, you know, we gather out here a lot. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Spend a lot of
it's right
time.
next to the house, and
Yeah.
you know, we gather out here a lot, and I wanted a place that we could sit and watch a game or watch TV or listen to some music or
Yeah.
just, you know, hang out and do work on the cars. And this bar in particular kind of started the effort. We found this, a guy in Lynchburg had it, and his father-in-law had bought it new in 1969 or 1970.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, because of my age, I wanted a 70s
Yeah,
vibe. You know,
yeah,
I
of
wanted the
course.
old black leather and dark
Yeah.
wood, and this just fit the bill perfectly.
Perfect.
Your brother-in-law John contributed the
Oh, for
counter
the stools.
that he
Yeah.
had from somewhere. He gave me such great help on adding. We took laminate flooring and actually applied it
Looks
to the walls.
beautiful. Yeah, you did an amazing
We're kind
job.
of looking, you know, wanted this corner to look like more of an old speakeasy sort of.
Like an old Virginia
just an
speakeasy.
old smoky sort of environment.
Wow.
This lamp, I found the base, and I rewired it, and
Yeah,
the
that's an
more I
old
looked
one.
at it, the more it seemed like it really wanted this Tiffany style
Beautiful.
shade. So
Yeah.
my wife and a good friend of hers were out shopping in a few of the local antique stores, and they ran across this in a back room. And I mean, I think I paid like $30 for the
Imagine,
this
yeah.
shade to go along with the lamp, but it fits the vibe so well.
So
I think.
beautiful. And look, it's got like some copper in it too.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just gorgeous.
and I don't know. Neither my wife nor I can remember where it came from.
Yeah.
This base, but you know, we had it, so I wanted to
Okay.
try to put it to good use here.
Well,
And
excellent.
but I think we're getting there.
Well, let me get a few. I got just a few things in this bag for you that I brought. I think the first one I'll show you. This was when I moved into my house. My house was 1975, 78.
Mm-hmm.
I found this in above the stove.
You're kidding.
Now I remember it being in a better condition, so I don't know where all these like maybe mice have like eaten away the pages. I really don't know. I've never seen a mouse, but I don't remember it being in such a.
Gosh, this probably dates back to '60s, I'm sure.
But I think it fits your bar pretty good.
Oh no, this is
Yeah.
perfect, man.
Let me see what else I got.
Let's see, Southern Comfort. Oh, yeah. No, this is a wonderful recipe book.
Oh, here, check this one out. Check this one out. 46 drinks at home.
Oh, my goodness. Look at this. Gosh, this is absolutely the vibe that I would find I'm still working over here.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna find a way to display things like
Right.
this that just are sympathetic to what we're doing here. But look at this thing. Along on to 350.
Wow.
This has got to be 60s. It looks like it, from the dress and the furniture and the pictures of the people. Oh, that's thrilling. Thank you.
All right, you're so welcome. Let me see what else I got for you. Oh, hey, you remember when when I found that bed in the dumpster and there was like a 1920s bed? I don't know if I told you about it. We were talking about how they don't make oh gosh, hold on guys. They don't make things like they used to. And I told you I stole the well, I didn't steal, but I took the freight
tag,
label.
Yeah.
So this is an old freight label. I think maybe from a train. It's got a catalog number. Somebody wrote in it with hand, cursive, name.
Look at that.
Not from Chicago. They scratched that out and they put Philadelphia. And
But it looks like it was actually maybe on a trunk of some kind.
yeah, it was on the bottom of the bed.
Oh, on the bottom
Yeah,
of
on
the
the bottom
bed.
of the bed. Yeah, this bed was made by hand. And look at this
wow.
real quick. I think this says August 11, 1923.
Oh, no kidding.
So that's been through a little while.
Look at that. Oh,
This
that's
one,
neat.
I was so hoping with all of my heart to have you a ready, well-made like fan. And then this was supposed to. I've never seen this. I ordered this for you. I've never seen it, but I'm hoping it's as good as I thought it was. This is an advertisement in the Saturday Evening Post of the 1920s, July 16th, 1921. This is a real photo, or a real, page.
And that fan is a Robbins and Myers fan.
It's the
right?
same fan.
Yeah.
So yep, this is probably about 20 years before yours,
Yeah.
but it's the same ad, and I figured you'd find a place for it.
Oh, absolutely. I will. I've got on the bookshelf over there that I showed you comic books and things.
Yeah.
I've got an old log book that my grandfather and grandmother used in the 40s, but actually the early dates
Wow.
were
Yeah.
1946.
Yeah.
But back then in the country, they would come in, people would come in and get food and
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
would basically run a tab.
A tab.
And you would see, it gives you an idea, the price of things.
Wow.
Tobacco and
And what
milk
people were
and
buying
eggs
too.
and,
Yeah.
they were pennies. But sometimes you would see that folks would come in and pay their tab, and sometimes they would trade a ham or something
Amazing.
like that. But
Amazing.
all of this is
Amazing.
so
Yeah.
closely connected to
Yeah.
that sort of era to me. So it will absolutely find a wonderful place here.
Well, listen. Let me. I think that's almost about it. Let me go get your fan. I'll be right back. So again, Justin, I am so sorry, man. I was just foolish, and I let it vibrate oscillate into a dang freaking tool. So I'll tell you what I did. You can see over here, I put this blade, I put JB Weld on it just to get it in place where you can actually put it up there.
Yeah.
When I left here, the JB Weld was not cured.
Okay.
So what I had to do is I had to basically put I had to remove it from its current position, and I had to splint it against the fan cage,
Okay.
and tape it into place with the hopes of it will finally, actually weld in that position right there that you can see it, so where you can still display it.
Oh, absolutely.
This was just preventing it from moving.
I can promise. Oh, this is a period correct cord too.
Yep. So I got you this is from a. I wouldn't be plugging this in. Now let me tell you, if you didn't have a fan blade on, you can plug this in, and it absolutely works completely fine. I got the oscillator fix again. You just turn it left to oscillate, and then you turn it right, and it tightens a screw down onto a gear, which catches with the friction,
Right.
and it starts to go like this, which you saw, well, you will see in the
Right.
video before this whole
Gosh,
nightmare
look,
occurred.
Look at the brass.
Oh, yep, touch the brass up. There's a lot of like tarnish on it. I didn't give it a good clean, like a good paint, you know, like I know you didn't want to,
No.
but I did clean up what was there. Everything's original.
That is super. Look at that.
And
What did you find? I believe that there were some washers, those felt washer things.
Yes.
There were some things in there that had just worn out
Yes,
or fell
yes.
out. I mean, what?
I'm afraid that there's something not quite right with the fan in alignment terms. And I've been able to, with some nylon washers, able to get it to start reliably on the first try, going from not working at all. And basically that's with nylon washers, just with experimentation, which you'll see about in the video if you want to watch it. But
I watched all but the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
one,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I realized just how much time and effort. I just truly treasure this. I mean, it looks the same as it did when I handed it to you.
yeah,
So
exactly. Just be very careful on that
Yeah,
edge
yeah.
right there,
no,
because
no,
it's
no.
not.
It'll go back on the shelf, and
Yeah.
I've got video evidence that it runs.
That it runs, exactly. Yeah,
I'm
for
really-
posterity.
Really excited about that, but
All right.
I am thrilled.
Well, listen.
Thank you.
One more thing. I don't know. A gentleman who loves bourbon, you can't give him a bottle of bourbon. Like let me tell you, for gin, I like gin. There was 3 bottles on the top shelf, and that's easy choice, right? For bourbon, I was just in the oh gosh, whatchamacallit, the ABC, and there's like 150 bottles of bourbon.
Yeah, no, it's
Well,
really
listen,
hard to.
I don't know if you've got one in your on the shelf already, but that's for you in appreciation of letting me break your fan. And
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if it's any good. But something for you to try.
We will find out.
This is John, of course.
We'll find out this evening.
All
before you
right,
leave.
shall we? Okay.
We'll have to taste this.
All right, that's it, everybody.
Thank you very
All right, you're welcome.